Hi everyone, and these are a few screencast resources to share with you this self-directed study week, but you can use them throughout your module studies and beyond if you like, just to give you a bit of kind of support as a reference for a few kind of general things to do with academic writing. We're a diverse group on the course, so I'm trying to make as few assumptions here as possible about what people know about. Um, they won't be long videos. They're really kind of introductions, but it's very much about kind of creating a screen share environment where I can show you a few things that I hope will be useful. But any questions, as with everything on your studies, any questions that come out of looking at this or thinking about these academic skills that I'll be talking through, please do just get in touch with me or with Faisal or anyone else on the course. We're all very much here to support you, um, and think about what's going to be most useful for you for your learning on the course and on the module. So this is going to be the first of three screencasts, and I'm going to focus in this one on referencing. I'm not going to cover everything. There's going to be some things you're going to need to go away and think about and have a bit of a refresher about it. But it's really just to cover some basic stuff about referencing. A referencing it's really just a way of showing your reader, um, a way of directing to your reader, that you're aware that a particular study or a particular idea is associated with a particular author. And that could be, you know, a theory of addiction, psychological theory of addiction. It could be a study. It could be something to do with methods. That could be another thing. People who've met me in the classes now, you know that I like using Google Scholar. With using Google Scholar, that comes with caveats. It doesn't mean we use it for absolutely everything, because we don't know the algorithm on Google Scholar and it's not perfect, and it's not as comprehensive as the academic databases you have access to by virtue of being a London Met student. And we don't have all the filters and adjustments and fields that we do have on the academic databases, but it's a start. Google Scholar is quite a good first place to sort of try out some searches. And I'm mentioning Google Scholar now linked to referencing because I think you can use the two together quite nicely. I'm going to share my screen at this point, and go to Google Scholar. No, I'm not. I'm going to go to a Word document. So say you're writing a sentence, and this is to think about referencing. And people who've come to my sessions will have seen me use this example before. So that's me writing an introduction, like perhaps the first sentence in a paragraph there. I'm not talking about, notice the voice I'm using there. I'm using the term voice a bit figuratively there, but notice the sort of the tone in which I'm writing it. I'm not introducing a study and findings from a study. I'm not talking about a theory and what the theory predicts about the world. It's more a descriptive sentence about the literature in an area, and it's the kind of descriptive sentence that might come through redrafting, and at a later stage in your essay, so you don't have to have these kind of sentences in your first drafts. This kind of sentence, by the way, I would call like a signposting sentence. What I mean by that is it sort of sends a signpost. It acts like a signpost to the reader. so that they know what's going on in the paragraph and what sort of thing we're thinking about in this paragraph. So that's that sentence. Now we're getting towards the referencing. I'm going to type another sentence now. All right. Now, people who come to my session, you know that I like this color coding thing. I might have used different colors in that sentence, but here I'm just differentiating between the signposting sentence and the sentence that summarizes a study. Now, this is where the referencing comes in. Here I'm sort of building on that signposting sentence by referring to a study. This isn't the best description in the world. It's just an example. There could be a bit more detail here. There could be a bit more clarity here, probably. But this is just giving a sense of how referencing works. So here I'm talking about a qualitative study based on this sample of students, UK based. And I could develop this a bit here. I could add how many students. There were 5 in the sample. So I could talk about this. 5 UK-based university students has drawn attention to the social pressure experienced by young adults who drink little or no alcohol. I could develop that further, I could add more information about that study, or I could also combine information about another study. I know these studies well because these are studies that I completed. See how I'm sort of editing there a little bit as I go along. Now, here, I'm adding in a second reference. So this bit is about one study, kind of a social, this was the same study, but there were 2 papers that came out of it. Qualitative research has shown different things. It's shown a bit about the social pressure experienced by young adults who drink little or no alcohol. There are lots of studies I could refer to there, really, but I'll just refer to mine here. And that refers to that 2014 study. And then another one about motivations that underpin the decision to not drink alcohol. And that kind of brings in that study. And that's why I have those 2 studies, or those 2 references, appearing in brackets at the end of the sentence. So as the reader, I'm going to expect to see those 2 studies, Conroy and Divisa 2014, Conroy and Divisa 2015, very similar sounding studies, but they are different. They are differentiated by that year in this case. I'm going to expect to see those at the bottom of the essay in a reference list, and I'll add those in a moment. But that's what referencing is really. It's providing it's providing a way of telling the reader where ideas can be where ideas come from, what sort of other sources we're referring to at given times. And that compound sentence there kind of refers to those two studies there, and that's called an in-text reference. And then we'd have the reference, any in-text references we have in the essay, we would have in a reference list at the end of the essay. Now these videos all kind of link up a little bit, so I'm going to kind of use this as a way of drawing attention to things I'm going to talk about in the later essays. So we don't just leave paragraphs with material included in them there. That's not enough. We need to then link discussion and ideas back to the essay question, ideally. Because then you're giving the reader everything. You're giving the reader some content showing knowledge and understanding, the use of evidence, and obviously this is, you know, to do with health psychology. It's not directly to do with those addiction questions you have for the first coursework component for addiction psychology, 7022 module. But it's an example, and you can see how it kind of applies across to what you're doing for your essay for 7022. So I'm sort of going in different directions here, but that's the referencing. It's the APA, that's the American Psychological Association referencing style that we use in psychology. You can, you know, if you put in APA referencing, as I just have now, you'll quickly come to some really, really excellent online guides, which guide you through, you know, how you do references in different scenarios. So one author, two authors, three or more authors, how that works in the in-text thing. Sometimes the phrasing here is a bit different. So parenthetical citation is another way of saying in-text referencing. So don't be thrown by sort of different ways of phrasing things. But then there'll be information about how that appears in a reference list, or it should be. I mean, there are lots of different things here. In fact, this doesn't look like the best possible thing to be referring to, and there are lots of adverts coming up. So I switched to another APA guide. And, you know, there are different things to be referring to here. I'll let you have a look. Have a look for the referencing guide that you like the look of best, because there's so much information out there. There will be a good thing for you to use that works well for you. This looks like quite a nice page here. So citing in text, and then we have, you know, these useful examples of how things appear in a reference list, examples of references. And we have that kind of standard format of author's year, article title, journal that appeared in. Journal that appeared in is in italics, then issue number, volume number, and page numbers. And that's sort of the key information. So switching across to Google Scholar and thinking about those references we had in that bit of text with the Conroy and Divisor references. I'm doing an advanced search on Google Scholar. So Google Scholar, if you press that and go to this waffle, that's what I call it. This looks like a stack of pancakes in the corner there. Go to advanced search. You get this little field here. which I quite like. It's quite a handy place to use. So it's saying find articles with all the words. You can put in the words you want. In fact, I haven't put things in the right field there. Find article, return articles authored by, so that was by me. So I put my name there. I'm saying with all the words, I'm going to put non-drink there for non-drinker. And I want that to appear not anywhere in the article, but in the title of the article. So I'm going to change that radio button there. I could change these fields. I could say between 2013 and 2015, just so I'm more likely to capture it. But that's okay. I'm going to be lazy and just put that and press search. It didn't like it, so maybe I need a hyphen there for non-drinkers. No, it didn't like that either. Maybe I need to put that in. And this is useful, you know, this is sort of getting you thinking about what sort of words you need to use to get back to get back the records, to get back the studies that you want to look at. And I have found one of them now. I found that 2014 one. Can't find the 2015 one though, so maybe just curious where it is now. No. Okay, well, I know how else to find it, so that's not a problem. So there's one of them. Now, this is something I like doing. I go to this cite button here at the bottom. So there's the reference. I click on that, I'll go to where it lives on the Taylor and Francis site, I think. Well, maybe it's there, and I can actually download the PDF straight away, which is handy. This is really useful. That cite button there. Now, when I press that, I get this field, and I can, with my tab button, I can backwards tab. I can copy the reference out from there. So I press Control C for copy. And then I can actually put this straight into my reference section like that. So I go from Google Scholar and I paste it in there. Now that's not the end of the story, because you have got to look through here and do a bit of manual tidying. So I'm making that lowercase, changing the ampersand to and that these should be capitalized, these first letters of the journal. So always check what Google Scholar is putting in, because Google Scholar is not perfect. You can do different things there. You don't have to do this, but just check the formatting is the way you want it. I like a hanging reference so that you'll see what it looks like in a moment. Oops. So this gives it a nice kind of indent, so that second line of the reference kind of drops slightly below the first one, so that when they appear in a list, they look kind of just slightly easier on the eye to be reading. So that you can do that. And then let's find the other one. We weren't able to find it, were we? It was doing strange things. So I know another word in the title of that 2015 paper. I'm going to put that in instead. Now, why wasn't it showing up non-drinkers? Okay, maybe it's because of the colon. That's interesting. Let's try non-drinkers. Yeah, and that way we find it that way as well. So we've got to do a little bit of kind of tweaking there, but I can do the same thing here. I can tab down, get the APA of that, and add it in. And it will appear below that rightly because it's a later date. So it's the same name, Conroy D, and Divisor, comma disappears as well. And then, you know, that bit of tidying there. It's the same authors, but because it's a later one, it appears below the 2014 one. If you have the same authors with the same year, there are other things to differentiate them. So if they were both 2014 publications, put A, B there. But we don't need those details to differentiate the record. They have different years, they're already differentiated, unless we have other Conroy and Divisor articles. We're happy things differentiated as they are by year. And there we go. I've got those two in-text citations there, and there I have them here in my reference list. Because I'm a bit fussy, I just want to make sure that I've got everything the same font and size. So I've done that. Always have your essays submitted without colors. I've just included those colors to differentiate them, yeah, make sure it's all kind of black typeface so it's clear. So this was just going over referencing. Obviously, there could be other references here. We talk about a theory and add in yet another reference there, but that's the idea of referencing. For the number of references in your essays, I'd follow a sort of 10 per 1,000 word rule. So for a 2,000 word essay, you'd expect, you know, no more than 20 references. And in fact, I'd say around 13, 14, 15 well-used references would be absolutely fine. It's sort of about how they're used. And that level of detail, that you could have a bit more detail maybe, and that's cramming in a lot. It's not, you know, I don't talk about the importance of authenticity there. I kind of make it a bit more sort of, you know, crude and general by talking about the range of motivations. I could get a bit more detail in there, but you know, the point here is you can't write very, very descriptively in these summaries. You need to try and sort of bring it all together using a very, very small number of words. Why is that? Well, you know, you want to show that knowledge and understanding, you want to show that ability to use evidence, but you also don't want to write a descriptive essay. You want to devote only a bit of word count to that, and then have word count that starts addressing the essay question. So word count that starts addressing a question about, you know, how should psychological theory be used to explain addiction? So you know, this might be part of your, you know, part of your route towards answering that question might be drawing on that evidence, talking about how it links to a psychological theory, and then talking about, you know, how that theory answers, explains something about addictive behavior, you know, something about, you know, what sort of theory we find particularly useful, or, you know, how psychological theory should work to explain addiction, so that we're answering the essay question really clearly as well. Okay, I think I'll stop there. So that's sort of a first video talking about addiction, talking about referencing, sorry. And I'll go now to talk about structure, and I'll come back and use this this Word document we're looking at now for that purpose. Okay, see you in the next video.